Okay, good evening, everyone. The time is 6:02 PM. This is the Township of Springfield Board of Adjustment meeting for February 18th, 2025. Notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Sunshine Law. Notice was published on January 2nd in the local source, one of the official newspapers for the Township of Springfield for the year 2024 and 2025, and posted in the Annex Building on January 2nd, 2025. Can we please stand to salute the flag? May we please have a roll call?
Mr. Stephen Hochstein? Mr. Michael Weckstein?
Here.
Mr. Stephen Furstenbaum?
Present.
Ms. Marla Naparano? Mr. Peter Shewitz? Ms. Anika Dotson?
Here.
Mr. Randy Perlman? Vice Chair Mark Cunningham? And Chairwoman Jody Cohen.
Here.
We have quorum.
Excellent, thank you very much. The first order of business is the minutes. We have the minutes from December 2024. Has every board member had an opportunity to review the minutes? Are there any questions or comments? No, just turning it on. If there are none, is there a motion to approve the December 2024 minutes?
I'll move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Objections? Motion passes.
The next minutes to be adopted are from January 2025 board meeting. Has every member had an opportunity to review? Are there any questions or comments? If there are none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Objections? Motion passes.
Okay. We'll move on to our application this evening. We have one that is application 2025-1. This is for Solar Landscape LLC, Block 3101, Lot 32. This is a request for minor site plan approval, bulk and use variances for solar panels on the rooftop and associated equipment.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, I'm Donna Jennings from the law firm of Lenz, Goldman & Spitzer on behalf of the applicant. As was correctly indicated, the applicant is here this evening seeking minor site plan approval with use and bulk variances to install rooftop community solar panels with associated ground equipment on property located at 22 West, identified as Block 3103, Lot 32, on the township's tax map. The property is approximately 4.71 acres, or 4.17 acres, is located in the highway commercial zone. By way of background, the applicant, Solar Landscape, is the premier commercial rooftop solar developer in the country. As a leader in commercial real estate clean energy development, the applicant has invested heavily into its building capabilities to support the next phase of growth. This past year, the applicant has secured $847 million in project investment and refinancing, enabling it to continue its growth and create more than 200 commercial rooftop solar projects to power over 50,000 households. Here, the applicant proposes to install solar panels in connection with the community solar program. The state first launched the program as a pilot program in 2018, and in 2023, the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities voted to officially establish a permanent program. Individuals and businesses are now able to greatly benefit from solar energy systems without needing to install solar panels on their own property. Instead, solar energy is generated off-site for use by members of the program. Members receive several benefits, including paying a reduced energy bill by utilizing clean and renewable energy resources. Significantly, these community solar products are required to serve a majority of low and moderate income households. The applicant has been actively involved in the community solar program for several years and continues to install solar energy systems in municipalities across the state. The applicant does require a D1 use variance because solar panels are only permitted within the township as an accessory use. Here, community solar is an additional principal use that is not specifically permitted in the HC zone. I don't think it's actually permitted in any of these zones. Furthermore, no more than one principal building or structure on a lot is permitted, and the proposed solar panels are considered an additional principal structure. Finally, the proposed solar panels will be used to generate more energy than what is required to power the also seeks two bulk variances. The first is to install an overhead electric line, whereas all electric and utility wires are required to be underground. And the second is for the maximum impervious coverage, whereas 63% is required and 70.1% is proposed. The board engineer did note in his report that the prior 2014 approval for the self-storage facility noted that the impervious coverage for that application was 69.9% and a maximum of 70% was permitted at the time. The applicant's site engineer recalculated impervious coverage and found that the ground equipment increases the proposed impervious coverage slightly to 70.1%. Because this increases the existing non-conforming condition, the second bulk variance is required. As will be more thoroughly discussed by the applicant's planner, the record will show that the applicant satisfies both positive and the negative criteria. The positive criteria is satisfied as a matter of law because the municipal land use law specifically recognizes solar energy facilities as inherently beneficial uses or a use which is universally considered of value to the community because it is fundamentally serves the public good and promotes the general welfare. The record will further show the applicant satisfies the negative criteria and will see the balancing test because the public interest greatly outweighs any detrimental effects. With that, I would just like to note that there are going to be two witnesses. First witness is going to be Ryan Kelsey, the site engineer, and Andrew Yanu, our planner. And we are in receipt of two review letters, one dated February 13, 2025 from the board engineer, and then we have a board planner letter dated February 14, 2025. So with that, I'd like to call up our first witness, which will be Ryan Helalosi, the board engineer. And I would note this is going to be Ryan's very first testimony, so hopefully you all keep that into consideration. Come on up, Ryan. It's on?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth? Please keep your voice up. Give us your full name, spell your last name, and your business address.
Ryan Pelosi, H-O-F-L-O-S-I, and I work at Short Point Engineering. The address is 1985 Highway 35.
Thank you.
All right, if you could, Mr. Helalosi, if you could give the board the benefit of your background and qualifications.
Yes, I'm a project engineer with Short Point Engineering. I graduated TCNJ, my civil engineering degree. I'm a licensed engineer since 2024, and my license is in good standing. I've been at Short Point Engineering for 5 years now, and I work very closely with our applicants so that we over 30 projects throughout New Jersey, in towns such as Bridgewater, East Hanover, and Ridgefield. And this is my first time testifying. I'm honored that with this board.
Does the
Thank
board accept his qualifications?
Any objections to qualifying Mr. Holosi as an expert in engineering? None, you may proceed.
Thank you so much. If you could, Mr. Helalosi, just describe the existing site conditions, and if you're going to rely on any exhibit, let's mark that into evidence, please.
Yes, this is our first exhibit, so it's A1.
Mm-hmm. And just describe what A1 is for the record.
A1 is existing aerial image with our proposed solar panels on the roof and then the proposed equipment here. So the property is known and designated as 3103, lot 32, and it's located approximately 27 acres.
Keep your voice up.
And it's part of the HC zone, which is the highway commercial zone. There's commercial use to the east, west, and south, and residential to the north. The site is currently developing a self-storage facility, and the existing self-storage has a building footprint of 90,797 square feet, and the height is less than 40 feet.
Now, if you could just describe what Community Solar proposes to do on the site.
Yes, the applicant is seeking approval to construct solar mounted panels and associated ground mounted equipment. If I wanted another exhibit, this is A2.
Mm-hmm. And just for the record, what is A2?
A2 is our updated site plan. These are different than our previously
And when you say that different, there's just a slight shift in the location of the ground-mounted equipment?
So the ground-mounted equipment has been shifted, so now it's outside of that FEMA zone X. And we have more proposed evergreen in this town, or the neighboring properties. And I have another.
Thanks.
A3. And this is just a more detailed sheet, zoomed in on exactly what we're changing since we're
And when you say you have updated site plans, do you have a date on that, just for the record?
the date is 2/17/25.
And A3 is just a zoom in of the change on the ground-mounted equipment, correct? And that has the same date of February 17, 2025?
This one has a date of 2/18/25.
Okay, 2/18/2025.
A lot of paper moving at the time.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Keep your voice up so everyone can hear you.
It's just moved out of that, FEMA zone X. So again, the fence, everything is outside of that FEMA zone, so nothing is required.
So just looking at Exhibit A2, could you just show them where the, you keep talking about the FEMA zone, can you show them where the dotted line is so they can see what you're talking about?
So this first dotted line is the FEMA X, and then this is the FEMA AE, which we were never in, but in the previous report, which this are previously submitted plans, which we don't have more pictures of it. This was just slightly in the transformers, slightly in that X zone, which now going back to A2. Yes, right here. And these two match the layouts.
Okay, and if you could just describe the two bulk variances that the applicant is seeking?
Yes, the bulk variance for the first one is for the overhead electrical lighting, or electrical wires. This is just based on what JCP&L allowed us to have. They gave us their plans, so we kind of have to meet them to touch into their existing grid. The utility, it's for the utility wires that must be underground. As I stated, this is just JCP&L giving us their plan that everything has to be above ground.
And just so you know, they do this for every single application that we do, so we've had other towns ask if it could be underground, and JCP&L just says no. So we do ask, we try, but this is what we're stuck with.
And on our plans, it's all overhead until we get to this last utility, and that would be all underground.
Can you ask your witness to speak up a little bit?
Yes.
Sorry.
Slower, please.
This microphone works better, so maybe he should,
Oh, it's not on. That's the problem.
We do that every time it's first change. Initiation.
yeah. Will this make it over there?
Hello? Oh, yep, there we go.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
Two.
Do you want me to repeat anything?
Just start off with
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ryan.
Can you just go over the FEMA portion of it, because that was the part that I couldn't hear plus the rest.
Right. So our equipment is completely out of the FEMA Zone X, which is again this first line closest to the equipment.
So if you looked, do you see it on the smaller sheet? Yeah, you see those dotted lines? The thing used to be in the dotted lines.
And it's,
Now it's out.
If I may, the dashed line that's designated as AE, that's commonly what you would remember as the 100-year flood zone. The X is the 500-year flood zone. So this has been shifted away, which is a good thing for long-term. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. And then there was one other bulk variance for the maximum impervious coverage. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yep, we're requesting a bulk variance in regards to the maximum lot coverage. Maximum lot coverage allowed in the HC zone is 63%. The existing lot coverage was approved in 2014 to be 69.9%, where back then 70% was the allowable. And now we are proposing a lot coverage of 70.1%, and this is just because the very small impervious coverage of the ground-mounted equipment, which is about like 300 square feet.
Okay, and if you could just describe the actual solar panels, how many we're putting on there, what kind of power they're going to generate?
Yes, so the roof-mounted solar panels are proposed on all portions of the existing rooftop where feasible.
So looking at Exhibit A1, that's all the blue squares that we
Yes,
see?
all over here, the blue on the rooftop. And it's 1,237 modules, and the panels lay flat on the roof and are approximately 5 inches of height of the building, which is, again, with your ordinances, which you guys allow 8 inches. The proposed panels, as stated previously, are part of the community solar program that provides equal access to clean, renewable energy for homeowners, renters, and businesses alike. The power generated by this project is expected to be more than 873,000 kilowatt hours, which is able to power about 106 homes annually. The power generated by this project will be sold to residents within Springfield and surrounding municipalities at 21% discount, and at least 51% of the power produced will be sold to low and moderate income residents. Once construction activities commence, the installation of these modules on the building is expected to be completed within 3 months, and typical maintenance is usually a 2-man crew that comes and inspects, does routine inspection and maintenance on the roof-mounted panels. And the life expectancy of these modules is about 15 to 25 years. Once the modules reach their life expectancy, they will be decommissioned in accordance with all applicable laws and regulations and replaced with new modules.
And Solar Landscape has a decommissioning plan for every
Yes.
project?
Yep.
And what about, how does the applicant advertise the community solar services so that people know that it's available?
As Solar Landscape is one of the leading solar power plants in New Jersey, so their advertisement kind of speaks for themselves. They are the biggest in the industry right now in New Jersey, so.
And they market in the particular town, correct?
Yes, yep.
And what about the review letters? Did you have an opportunity to review both the review letters?
Yes, we reviewed both review letters, and we were able to comply with everything that was listed in both.
And are there any other outside agency approvals that the applicant needs to secure?
As of right now, no, there is not.
That's all the direct testimony I have for this witness.
I have a couple questions. Is the roof able to support the weight of all the solar panels?
Solar Landscape does analysis on the buildings before they do these purchasing and get their project started.
So the answer is yes.
Yes, sorry.
Second question. You said that people in the surrounding towns, specifically Springfield, Union, Mountainside, what towns would be, what residents of what town would be eligible to access this the surplus electricity generated by these panels?
So that's once they go through Solar Landscape with that, so that would be through.
We could have Solar Landscape answer that question.
Okay.
Might be more.
All right. And the other question is, the excess power goes into the JCP&L grid? Is that an accurate statement?
Yes.
And that anyone who wants to sign up for this program would be low to moderate income individuals. They would go through JCP&L to sign up for this, or go through the company that you're representing? How would that work?
I believe it, well, we'll have Solar answer it, but I believe it goes through Solar, and it's only 51% goes to low and moderate, the 49% go out to the regular market. So anybody could benefit from Solar, but there's a specific target for low and moderate income.
Thank you.
I have a question, I don't know if it's for you or not.
some reason these systems become decommissioned, and we were to approve it, would you agree to having it removed if it was decommissioned, not just decommissioned in place?
Yeah, they do. They would agree to that. They're valuable, the panels, so they would want the back.
That's 15, 20 years old when they're obsolete. That's my concern, is that they become just something sitting on the roof that's
Yeah, no,
old
they,
and decrepit.
the decommissioning plan all addresses that. And we'll supply a decommissioning plan as a condition of the approval.
Thank you.
Any other questions from our board members? Okay, I'm gonna turn it up.
Council, A1, can we just make sure that our board secretary gets a hard copy of that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Did you get the date on that? It looks like 2/18.
It is 218.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to our professionals. Mr. Disco.
Very briefly, just for the record, could you affirm that the height limitation of 40 feet will not be violated with the addition of the roof-mounted solar?
Yes, there's parapets on the roof, so the 5 inches would not affect it.
Attorney Jennings had mentioned no outside approvals. Just confirm that either you've reached out to DEP and you don't need a permit, or there's a waiver or anything.
We personally haven't reached out to DEP, but since we are outside of those zones, but again, that's something I could look into if you require.
Okay, that's all I have.
Was there a question on the FAR? In your report that it decreased? Sorry. From the original approval of 0.7 and then it
FAR.
That's what I, right. Was there, did we have, I'm curious.
There's no change in FAR, it's just that in 2014, the FAR was apparently 0.7 and now it's 0.5.
0.5, yep.
So somebody along the way had a number. But there's no change in the FAR as part of this application.
Understood.
I mentioned it as a potential source of discrepancy. I spoke to the engineer via phone on Friday, and there's no change.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any need for approval or comment by the fire department?
The only comment I would say is that as part of the process to go to get the building permit, fire does review it because on a rooftop installation, they want to be able to walk around and have, I don't want to use the incorrect terms, I'll call them safe zones on the roof where they can access it for firefighting purposes. So they do look at it.
So that's being accommodated even though it has not as yet been addressed.
That's right.
Yeah, and the panels should meet all the fire code issues. We've done this a number of times. I think they have 50 projects in New Jersey alone. So we've gone through the fire issues before with other towns. There's a certain, so many feet off from the roof that you have to do it, and so many feet in between the panels that you have to leave. So you'll see there's all sorts of whites around the panels. Those are the fire access lanes.
Okay. Gabe, do you have any? Questions?
Mr. Lossi, just for the record, I see that there's, oh, sorry. Is it on? Is it on now? Okay, all
Yeah,
right,
it's
hear
on
me,
now.
great. That you added evergreen plantings around the transformer, so just make note for that, the record that was added to the plan,
Yes,
that
that
wasn't
was added.
previously there.
Yep.
No other comments?
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna open it up to the public. Are there any members of the public who have any questions for this witness? None. You survived. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'm just going to call up the representative of Solar Landscape to answer any technical questions about how it all works. Austin, why don't you come on up?
Hello.
You got to get sworn in first.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, give us your business address.
Certainly. Austin Corso, last name spelled Corso. And Solar Landscape is located at 601 Bangs Avenue, Suite 301 in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Okay, I know the board member Shewitz had a few questions.
How exactly would, he said, so the excess power gets fed into the JCP&L grid? Somebody wants to take advantage of this program, how would that process work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one quick correction to that. The way community solar works, it's actually not feeding the building at all. All of the power is going back to the grid for the community to benefit off of it. Typically what happens is it's a first come, first served basis. What we will do, and we've already engaged some of your town already, we typically have our community engagement team. They reach out, typically starting with the mayor, saying, hey, we have this new project. This is a first come, first served basis. It will benefit specifically the township of Springfield. However, adjoining properties and towns also can benefit from this if the capacity is not filled up with people from Springfield. We offer some marketing information that says, here's how you do it. Traditionally, you apply on our website, and thankfully, as of 2025, the BPU has established consolidated billing. So once you do apply, I believe all you have to do is submit a utility bill, an existing utility bill, so they know what your service is. And then as soon as you are in the program, the next utility bill that you receive, either from JCP&L in this case, or if you are in another utility, will have your direct bill, and then it will show exactly how much you're saving off of it.
So JCP&L would still be responsible for the transmission of the power.
That's correct.
And how much would the savings be?
The savings per the program is guaranteed at 21%.
So if power goes out in the town and these customers have signed up for the solar power, do those customers not lose power, or?
The way the utility still works is still going to be the exact same way.
Okay.
So if you're not getting power from the utility normally, you're not going to get power from the utility from this.
Gotcha, okay.
And it's just really stored.
There's no storage component specifically, so it will just go direct to JCP&L's grid. And if they store power or just transmit, that's on them to sort of handle.
The owner of this that's a storage business.
Correct.
What advantage do they have in doing this for themselves, for giving you the air on the roof to install your panels?
We lease the roof from them.
Excuse me?
We lease the roof from them.
So if they were to sell their business,
The property has to, or the lease must be transferred to the new business. That's a condition of any sale that they have.
Any other questions?
Just to reiterate, you're going to have some kind of decommissioning plan that you will abide by in the event that you don't use that equipment, it'll be removed from the roof.
That's correct.
Take care of that.
That's correct. And even to your point before, even with an older system, there is inherent value in the components, even if they are outdated. There's inherent value in the physical components, so there would be no reason for us to leave it on the roof.
I'm just asking because technology changes and things,
Yeah.
so if it does become obsolete, you'll take it away.
Yeah.
And the decommission plan will be submitted to us as a condition?
Correct.
I'm sorry, so many questions. That's a flat roof?
Yes.
Okay, so the sun usually goes, depending upon the time, like this time of year, the sun is very low in the sky. Wouldn't that reduce the amount of power that those panels are generating, for starters?
We consider all sorts of shading and how the sun actually goes from its typical life cycle when we calculate the amount of energy that this will produce.
And what was that again? I don't remember.
The amount of energy that we're going to produce for this project specifically is over 873,000 kilowatt hours of power annually. And just to equate that, that's traditionally enough power to power over 106 homes annually.
And of that 106, 51% would go to low, moderate residents.
That is the requirement, yes. Of the power that we produce, 51% is for low to moderate income.
And first priority would be given to Springfield residents before moving to outside town.
It is a first come, first served, but we notify you guys first, so yes.
So it's actually not, it's a first come, first served in who gets it, but it's not always Springfield residents who would get priority, and you notify us first.
Right. So if you wait and they move to the next town because they didn't get enough people, you'll lose out.
Essentially.
And I'm sorry, how many projects have you done in New Jersey like this so far?
As Donna said, we're over 50. We're in terms of projects that we are actively building or in the process of building in this year, we are in the hundreds at this point, about 100 plus.
Question for you, what is the relationship between Kosh Development and Solar Landscape?
That is who owns Solar Landscape. So that is my two co-founders own Kosh Development, who basically own Solar
They
Landscape.
Corey and Sean, or Kosh,
Okay,
CO.
right, and they own,
They own Solar Landscape.
okay.
Silly name.
One more little,
It's on the record now, so I hope they don't read the transcript.
one more little,
Might be working for a different solar company.
I'm sorry, one more little technical question. How efficient are these panels? In percentage-wise, like 30%, 28%?
I don't know off the top of my head. We have the data sheet that we can send you guys as well, which calculates the efficiency. But we use the latest technology, so these are relatively efficient modules.
And then how do you find your population of who you're reaching out to in the town of Springfield?
Again, we typically try to use, actually, your help as much as possible. Traditionally, it starts with our community engagement team reaching out to the mayor, which I think our community engagement team has already done. And then we have different marketing information that we try to educate. Our community engagement team offers in-person, I don't know what you would call it, but like almost like a learning session where they'll stand in front and they'll basically explain to whoever your residents are that are interested in it. They can walk them through the process, answer any questions they have, and that's traditionally how we handle things.
Of your 50-plus projects in New Jersey, how many of them have been at capacity for what you're willing to serve?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
More than 10%, like generally?
That's not something that I know off the top of my head. I could ask my internal team. That's something that
We just get everything approved and
Yeah.
move on to the next.
I'm part of the operations team. I don't really manage how many or how much of the power is actually being benefited.
I would imagine it's a high percentage because we keep doing community solar projects all over. So there's a big need, and the BPU has a whole program, and it's pretty competitive, actually.
Okay, I'm sorry, again, another question.
That's
How do you determine moderate, low-income individuals? How do you say, okay, well, you're low income and moderate income, we'll gear it towards you as opposed to someone who's, not low or moderate income? How do you determine who's who?
So the community solar program that we are working through has a self-attestation process that is required. That is essentially how we verify if somebody is low to moderate income. That's a requirement of the program, is a self-attestation that they are under low to moderate income.
When you go to partner, so like in our town, JCP&L, and
Mhm.
RMG, they choose to work with you, or how does that relationship?
So we submit our application to the Board of Public Utilities, which basically governs over all of those utilities. And then once we have that approval, we obviously go through JCP&L and we say, hey, this is the project that we're trying to do. Please provide us a conditional approval. We receive the conditional approval, and we can offer that in as evidence as well. All of the agreements that we've worked with JCP&L to put this project into power.
And you requested it to be underground, but they require it to be above ground, or is it vice versa?
No, JCP&L requires it to be above ground.
yeah.
Yeah, we get very little that we can really dictate on how to connect it in. They basically say, it's going here, and we go, can we shift it? And they go, it's going here. So,
Any additional questions?
I have one. Are people in rental units able to benefit from this, or is it only in single?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, rental units as well.
It's actually
might-
part of the reason the program started, because people who don't have a roof to put on themselves can join the community solar program, because we have the roof and the panels. So that's definitely part of it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions for the witness?
This, for the record, this, it was mentioned to the engineer, but a structural analysis was done on the building and everything is satisfactory?
That's correct, sir. We have a licensed engineered stamp plan that says that the system, or the building, is structurally adequate to handle the solar panels.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any members of the public have any questions for the witness? None? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call up our professional engineer, Andrew Janu, to provide planning testimony to support the requested variances.
See.
As I say, engineer?
City engineer.
Planner.
Yeah.
Well, you are an engineer, too.
Yeah, that too. Testifying tonight as a planner.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your business address.
My name is Andrew Janu, Janiw. I'm a principal at the firm of Beacon Planning and Consulting Services. We're located at 315 Highway 34, Colts Neck, New Jersey.
Thank you.
And if you could, Andrew, for the benefit of the board, please give your background and qualifications.
Certainly. I do have a bachelor's and master's degree in civil engineering from the New Jersey Institute of Technology. I am a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey, as well as a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. Currently serving as the planner for the Borough of Carteret, Middlesex County,
Make sure you go slowly. She's trying to capture everything.
Borough of Freehold in Monmouth County. I'm the planning board planner for Livingston Township in Essex County, as well as redevelopment advisor to Bayonne and to South Amboy. In 2022, I was appointed to the State Board of Professional Planners by Governor Murphy, testified throughout the state of New Jersey, and my credentials have been accepted throughout.
Board accept his qualifications?
It's just for the record, your license is current and good standing.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any board members have any objections to qualifying this witness as a professional in planning? None. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew, you had an opportunity to visit the site and the area around the site?
Yes, I've been to the site. The site is located on the north side of Route 22 West, just east of the intersection with Brown Avenue. The site's improved with a Metro self-storage facility that was approved by this board in 2014, I believe. The site's located within the township's highway commercial district, which is pretty liberal in terms of commercial uses. It permits shopping centers, retail sales, movie theaters, automobile dealerships, restaurants, motels, as well as banks, offices, wholesale businesses, municipal buildings, and medical buildings. Per your ordinance, section 35-120, which is specific to clean energy systems, solar energy systems, it stipulates that the primary use of wind and solar energy systems are to provide power to the principal use of the property wherein said system is to be located, and shall not be for the generation of power for commercial purposes, although this provision shall not be interpreted to prohibit the sale of excess power generated from time to time. Wind and solar energy systems shall only be permitted as an accessory use on the same lot as a principal use. And that's the phrase that triggers our D variances. We are a principal use and principal structure, second principal structure on the property, so we do require D1 relief for the panels. And as was indicated before, in addition to the D1 relief, we also trigger two bulk variances, the first being to lot coverage, whereas 63% is currently permitted, 69.9 was approved in 2014. At the time, the ordinance standard was 70%, so that was just under. The ordinance standard changed to 63%, which is why we have that existing nonconformity. But we are adding approximately 300 square feet for the, essentially the slab for the equipment that's going to be ground mounted, and that brings us to our coverage of 70.1%. We are also seeking variance relief from 35-123L1, which requires that all electrical lines be buried underground. Portion of the cable will be above ground, and that's at the demand, I would say, of JCP&L, not by desire.
And if you could just describe the use from a planning perspective.
Certainly. So this is a commercial zone. We're surrounded by commercial uses here. And this is a flat-mounted roof system on a flat roof. It'll project about 5 inches above the roof line. And this is all important when we get to your standards regarding solar facilities within the township. But in preparation for this application this evening, I did review your ordinances, I did review your master plan and subsequent re-examination reports, as well as the professionals' letters. Your master plan back in '97 stated as goals and objectives to take advantage of redevelopment opportunities along Route 22, adding new uses and additional uses for underutilized sites, and the continued economic health of downtown Morris Avenue, as well as other commercial sections of the township, being of paramount importance. So we're on point with these objectives. We have an existing facility that was approved here in 2014. It's a self-storage facility. By all accounts, it's working very well and successful. We're including a non-intrusive second use on the property that'll generate additional income to that use, but also provide a community benefit in providing lower cost energy resources without essentially any detriment to the community, without any intrusion to visuals, without any kind of nuisance issues generated from the site. So it's fairly benign. As this board knows also, a variance can't be granted for the sole benefit of an applicant. It has to have public purposes. Those public purposes are reiterated within the Municipal Land Use Law 4055D. I believe there are 3 that are on point with this application. The first is, and they're by letter within the MLUL. A, which is to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of all lands in this state in a manner which will provide and promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Solar facilities, as well as any clean energy generating facilities, have been deemed inherently beneficial by the state, which means that on face they satisfy the positive criteria for consideration for a variance, use variance, nonetheless any bulk variances. So this is something that the legislature recognizes as a public benefit, as something that has a community-wide benefit and promotes the health, morals, and general welfare of a community. G is to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of agricultural, residential, recreational, commercial, and industrial uses, and open space requirements in order to meet the needs of all New Jersey residents. So your ordinance permits this use, albeit as an accessory use only feeding the building. So the use is anticipated. However, your ordinance was written in 2010 related to clean energy. The advent of community solar came after, and your ordinance never really was updated to consider things like community solar. So the use is permitted as an accessory provided it provides the primary energy source to the user. We're that same use, but we're selling that energy for community benefit, but it's the same type of system that you anticipated within your ordinance. And finally, which speaks for itself, N is to promote the utilization of renewable energy resources. With respect to the D variance relief, you heard the term inherently beneficial used. The concept of inherently beneficial judicially was created for a very narrow range of enterprises that are universally considered to be of community value. These include things like hospitals, schools, child care centers, group homes, and by name, wind, solar, and photovoltaic energy facilities. As an inherently beneficial use, the criteria by which the board judges the use changes. It goes to what's known as the SECA test. SECA B Board of Adjustment in Wall was prescribed. That was a head trauma center in Wall Township where it was adjudicated that it was so inherently beneficial to the community that there had to be a special set of standards. It also was adjudicated at that time that there was such a demand for it and such a public benefit from it that it essentially resolved the positive criteria of the balance test, and we really focus on the negative criteria. And the SECA court created a four-pronged test for the negative criteria. The first is to initially identify the public interest at stake. Here, the public interest is the generation of clean renewable energy for use by a community solar program. It will benefit the public at large with a reduction in electrical costs. The second is to identify any detrimental impacts that would ensue from the grant of the variance. So your section 35-123B specifically talks about solar panels being permitted strictly as rooftop installations in any zoning district. It says they cannot exceed 8 inches from the rooftop. We comply with that. Furthermore, it says that no portion shall be a ground array. Tree removal is not required. The installation shall comply with the National Electrical Code. The connections will be subject to all JCP&L requirements, and there shall be no signs associated with the installation except for those required for identification and safety. It also requires that mechanical equipment will be enclosed by a 6-foot fence. We are enclosing it with a 6-foot fence and providing a landscape screen around that as well. Albeit, it requires the cables to be underground. JCP&L is mandating that we put those above ground, and that's one of the relief points that we are seeking. Generally, we comply with all the envisioned requirements for a rooftop installation. The third prong would be to determine if it can reduce any detrimental impacts. So with respect to the flush-mounted rooftop, we're adherent, we're fairly benign. The only detriment really is the creation of a 300-square-foot pad that increases our coverage. But that's fairly de minimis given what we have on the site. And then finally, the above-ground cable, which is being mandated by JCP&L. We really don't have an option. If we would like to do this installation, that's what they're kind of putting on us as a burden. And then the final prong is to weigh the positive against the negative criteria. I mean, here we are creating a regenerative energy source. We are below the 40-foot roof line. We are renewable generally. That renewable energy that will be offered to the community with a majority of that energy, 51% as a minimum, going to low and affordable households. So I think when you weigh the negative criteria, which really are de minimis against the positive criteria of a new clean energy source, I believe on balance we do resolve all the 4 points of the SECA test. With respect to the bulk variances, there's a case known as Price v. Himeji, which says because you're seeking a use variance and that use may not have been anticipated within that district, those variances that you're seeking would be considered to be subsumed within the D variance. But in this case, we can resolve the 2 D variances, C variances that we're seeking under what's known as the C2 balance test as well. Under the C2 balance test, there are 3 prongs to the positive criteria, 2 to the negative. Under the positive criteria, we have to show that an application relates to a specific piece of property, and it does. That the purposes of the municipal land use law would be advanced by a deviation from the zoning ordinances. And I read 3 of those standards into the record prior. And finally, that the benefits of the deviation would outweigh any detriment. Again, I don't see any real detriment. This meets essentially all the requirements with the exception of the cable regarding an accessory installation. It would appear as if that to someone going by, they wouldn't know if this is a primary use or an accessory use to that building, but it does have a public benefit. With respect to the negative criteria, we have to discuss whether the variance can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. And when we look at substantial detriment, we look at what I call the nuisance factors. Is it generating any additional noise, any trash, any traffic? It isn't. It's a very benign use. It's only accessed from time to time for maintenance or if there's a downed panel. It's very non-intrusive. And finally, that the variance will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. And your zone plan anticipates both wind and solar energy facilities. There's been the advent of community solar since your ordinance was written. It's, visually it's the same as the accessory use, so I can't say that there's anything that's substantially impairing the intent and purpose of your zone plan. So when we look at those 2 C variances that we're seeking, I believe that we passed that on the balance test as well. So when we put all that together between the use and the 2 bulk variances, I think it's a good application. I think the board has enough to consider an affirmative action on this, and I think it's a good community benefit.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Any questions from members of the board? Our professionals?
I have a quick comment. You mentioned it, but I just want to confirm. If the self-storage facility puts solar panels and providing energy to their facility, they wouldn't need a use variance, correct?
That's correct.
The use variance is required because solar landscaping is leasing the rooftop and providing excess energy and selling that, correct?
Yeah, quite frankly, even if they put the panels for themselves, they'd be allowed to sell some of the energy, but they'd have to consume most of the energy on site. Here, all the energy is going off-site to the community.
Okay, thank you.
That's the only difference.
No other comments?
Thank you. Any members of the public have any questions for this witness? There are none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's basically our case in chief.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up to any comments from any members of the public. None. Okay. Anything that our professionals like to add before we deliberate? Thank you. Board members?
Madam Chair, if I might, I have, during the hearing and from reviewing the record, I see 3 conditions that I'm aware of. There needs to be proof of submission of an application to the Union County Planning Board. That there will be as-built drawings presented after the project is complete. And then today, the applicant will submit and abide by a decommission plan. Those are the only 3 I have.
Yes, thank you.
Was there any DEP approval needed or concern? I missed that.
So the testimony, the question was whether there was any DEP approval that was required, and if I am correct, I believe the engineer testified that DEP approval is not required.
Correct.
I am in favor of granting the relief that has been sought here for the multitude of reasons that were put on the record by the planner. Thank you very much for that testimony. I think that they have met both the positive and negative criteria on this. If anyone is in agreement, I would have a motion for approval of minor site plan, 2 D variances, and the C variance relief, with the 3 conditions that were previously stated by Mr. Bergen on the record.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Ms. Dotson?
Yes.
Mr. Wexstein?
Yes.
Mr. Furstenbaum?
Yes.
Ms. Naparano?
Yes.
Yes.
Vice Chair Cunningham?
Yes.
And Chair Cohen?
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Have a great evening. Motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? Thank you.